What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, I want to bring you one small piece of logical information, and it's going to require you, the subscriber, to use your brain to comprehend that information and come to a responsible conclusion. All right? Because everybody who like to say they do research, they don't do shit. All right? They don't do no damn research. They listen to somebody run their mouth on YouTube who have no credentials to talk about the thing they talk about. Then they take that information, because it's real simple, right? It's like mashed potatoes. They ain't have to chew it or nothing. They just put it in their mouths and swallow that shit, right? And they just run with it, right? Like you got some Coonarians who are running with the idea that first of all, I don't even know why this is a hill that any Coonarian wants to die on, right? But they're saying that the 2020 elections was still corrupt. They're still running with the white supremacists, QAnon, Proud Boys, those domestic terrorist wannabes, and the ones that went to jail are coming down here and participating in the insurrection, which I was there for the insurrection and saw the insurrection with my actual only two eyes, right? And I saw it myself. Right, so I can tell you that it was an insurrection. I seen it from beginning to end because I was there. All right, and for some reason, these they say they're for black people, but they want to push one of the most dangerous narratives in America, because it has a whole bunch of people thinking that the government is not working. It has a lot of people thinking that our elections, this 2020 was the most fairest, most probably ran elections in American history. All right, period. And that's actually a fact. It was one of the most well-run elections in American history. But because a man who never actually accepts losses, even though he loses all the time, he never apologizes for things that he does wrong, and never admits when he's completely and totally wrong, and when he loses, he just says he doesn't lose, because he has a childlike mind. He has a childlike mind, right? He suffers from Affluenza. He suffers for that. Remember when that kid who got caught driving a car and he killed a whole family, and he actually got out of jail? He didn't have to take responsibility for it, because he was so rich that he got off, because they said he suffers from Affluenza, right? Donald Trump is the old geezer who's been suffering from Affluenza his whole life, right? But you got black people who say they're for African Americans, right? But they want to disrupt, and they want to push narratives that could possibly destroy this country, in which African Americans who want to stay in America are proud of. Okay, now during all this investigation of whether this election was rigged or not, right? Even though you got the orange man saying it was rigged, and you got his cult members saying it was rigged, along with the Coonarians who saying it was rigged, Republicans themselves, right? The party themselves are saying that it was a free and fair election. The Republican judges that Donald Trump himself put on the bench also said and came to the conclusion that the elections were free and fair. The person that Donald Trump hired, the company that Donald Trump hired to go find the election fraud and all these claims that were flying everywhere, he himself came out his mouth and said there was absolutely nothing to any of the lies, any of the accusations of a stolen election, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put primary evidence right in the video with the actual guy who did the research, who got paid by Donald Trump, and his job was to find at least something that these Republicans, these Trumpians could hold on to say, hey, look, they stole the election, right? Because keep in mind, the idea of a stolen election was fueling and motivating all these unknowledgeable Midwest Europeans who don't know anything about politics to rebel against a system that's working just fine, despite politics being what it is, and they're always disappointing us and lying about, that's basic shit, right? The basic regular politics we're always, disappointed at. But we're talking about something existential right here. We're talking about a guy who's saying he wants to be a dictator. And when he says that, his supporters support him more. We're talking about a guy who, after his supporters realized that he was regurgitating Nazi talking points in Iowa, they are more likely to vote for him. Because the Republican Party and the base of the Republican Party are white racists. They're white. You got your old baby boomer white racists. They got the old style white racists. Then you got your rich uppity white racists. These are the ones that wear the suit, the Nick Fuentes's, the ones that heckle the black guy, the black gay guy. Like, those are the ones with the money that's part of those clubs that their parents put them in because they're affluent and they're up there, and they're the ones who got the youth and the energy to push the agendas that the old freaking white races, the old ones, wanted originally. Because we still got to battle these young ones because they're still teaching their children how to be racist. They're still pushing racism as a culture in their communities because that seems to be their only culture. That the only group of white people that seem to have a culture of their own is the racist ones, because the rest of them just kind of like, they just kind of like enjoy everybody else's culture. You know, Indian culture, Spanish cultures, whatever, black culture. They just love it all. But these ones right here, their culture is white supremacy. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and put this video here. Now, after the video, when you hear the guy, this is the man, all right? When you hear what he got to say, there is no way any sane individual can believe that the 2020 elections were fraudulent, right? No matter what you say about Joe Biden, he won the election fair and square, right? And I'm tired of these weirdos making it a qualifier. Did you vote for Joe Biden? Did you vote for Joe Biden? Oh, you Joe Biden? Like, it's almost like y'all got this weird cult racist thing, huh? You voted for Joe Biden? I can't listen to you. Oh, okay, like Dynas and them fucking and all them fucking retards. They like, you vote for Biden, we can't listen to nothing. Like, they so fucking far down the idiot pseudo rabbit hole that there's no recovering from these motherfuckers, bro. There's no recovering from some of these pseudo fake Pan-Africans who will literally disqualify you because you voted for Biden. What? I didn't vote for Biden, by the way, because I ain't like him, right? But I can't say he ain't doing a decent job as a president domestically. Internationally, I don't agree with him, you know, in the Israeli thing, but it wouldn't have mattered if it was Republicans in there anyway. Any U.S. president would have been dealing with the same situation. And let's remind you guys that it's Israel who's doing the killing, not Americans. Even though we have treaties and pacts, our private companies do sell weapons, right, to other countries, and our government does back it. We do understand we have a portion in that, but keep in mind, it's Israel doing this, not our president. And if it would have had been a Republican president, the same thing would have happened. There's nothing we can't force another country to stop doing, you know, what they want to do through their own agenda. We can't do that. We don't have that type of power as strong as we are. All right. Even, I mean, we've done it before, but when a country that has enough institution, when they want to do what they want to do, they're going to do it. And America really can't stop it. Because if it was all like that, then shit, Africa wouldn't be rising, because America would just stop it because they got the power to do it. Just like we can't stop Israel from committing genocide. We can't stop Sudan's war. We can't stop the Russian and Ukraine war. We can't stop none of that shit. We can only influence it the way we want that's going to benefit us as America, as a nation, right? But it's not something we can just go in there and be like, all right, you guys, stop. You know, doesn't work that way. Politics and international politics is very complicated, unfortunately, for a lot of us who don't seem to think so. But despite all that, Biden's doing well, the Biden administration, because you got to remember, it's not, when you look at these figureheads, there are people behind these guys. There are people who are, the real people who are running the government and making the policies are the people that the president puts in charge. You're talking about the cabinet. You're talking about the White House. You're talking about the administrators. You're talking about all the people that do the actual work, not the figurehead themselves. So when you think about Donald Trump, you think about the people that's around Donald Trump. Think about his administration, his cabinet, the people he will put in charge. That's the shit that's dangerous, not Donald. Donald Trump is a fucking idiot. There's nothing scary about Donald Trump. But he's so fucking stupid that it allows the people that would attach themselves to him, it allows them to get their agendas across. That's what's dangerous, not Donald Trump and his dumb ass. Because he has failed at everything he's ever done, except for being the president. Like, that's a big win for him. But other than that, he failed at that shit, though, because he didn't win a second term. But for the most part, he's a big-time failure, but he's malleable and he's dumb enough to allow other people that have got agendas to do what they want to do. Notice how many of his cabinet members and the administration around him went to fucking jail for criminality. No time in history has that ever happened. That's how fucking stupid Donald Trump is. But anyway, after you watch this, no sane human being could ever say that the 2020 elections were stolen. There's zero evidence. We had 60 fucking court cases with Republican lawyers, Republican judges, and not nail one of them came up with anything. So we need to go ahead and cut that dumb shit and stop pushing false narratives that puts America, its institution, in danger. Just like that. Because last time I checked, African Americans are still Americans. This is still our country. We still want the institution to operate and run effectively because we live here. And as long as we stay here, that's just what we want. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Afro Think Tank, little something to them. Amen.
I really appreciate us speaking to you, and I know you took your time to figure out if it was the right thing to do for you to speak out. But you were hired by Team Trump to investigate voter fraud, and you were focused, I know, on the 6 key swing states, one of which, of course, we were just talking about, Arizona. So what was the bottom line from everything you looked at, Ken? Did you find the widespread fraud they wanted you to find?
Well, thank you for having me on, and good evening. And no, in my job looking for voter fraud for the campaign, we didn't find enough fraud to have impacted the result of any election in any of the swing states that we took a look at. But much more importantly, the campaign asked me to look at claims of fraud that other people were making, and these claims were coming in fast and furious in the 30 days after the election. My team looked at approximately 15 or so claims, every one of which we were able to prove was false. Every one of which. I mean, and as you say, you were inundated. I guess at one point, maybe a theory a day. I mean, just like coming in from everyone in Trump's orbit. Can you talk at all about which claims stand out to you? Or, when you look back on it now, when they throw the ball into your court, which one of them really stands out to you now? Well, I mean, they were all quite different, honestly, and they all stood out for different reasons. At the end of the day, if I was going to classify the different fraud claims, some of them were, I believe, honest efforts by people who didn't understand what they were looking at. They misinterpreted data, came up with a wild finding that was bizarre and couldn't possibly be right, and that was easy to sort of swat away. Others were literally college professors bringing forward complicated mathematical theories that claimed to prove that in one state or another state there was massive amounts of fraud. And those took a lot more work, not only because I had to hack my way through a pretty dense mathematical theorem, but at the end of it, I had to discuss with groups of lawyers and campaign consultants and other people who had no idea what I was going to be talking about to describe in layman's terms why this claim that on its face must have been accurate because of where it came from was in fact. Tens of millions of people receive this information. They desperately want to believe that President Trump improperly lost the election, and they're ready to believe it, and they're ready to take action if asked to help correct what they believe is a wrong. And one of the main reasons that I'm out here with this book talking about my experiences in looking is to provide the direct evidence. I was paid to look for this fraud. I was paid to vet the fraud in preparation for these cases to go to trial. And this was for a group of attorneys within the campaign who were serious about their jobs, and they did their due diligence. That's what I was performing for them. I was providing due diligence. I found nothing, reported that. They took that information, accepted it, reported it up the line to Mark Meadows, who was the chief of staff at the time. Mark Meadows then communicated the findings that there were no fraud to the Oval Office. So it's has to be told. This story needs to be told. People need to understand what really happened in terms of fraud, and to try to understand what actual fraud is as opposed to hearsay evidence, which is most of what people are being told is evidence of fraud.
And he's exactly correct. And he touched on in that clip a little bit of what I mentioned as well in terms of this ambition to believe the lies. People want